you said you were asked within a brief notice to head off to Antarctica. And just like we might be called out in the middle of the night to do an emergency, and finding a balance between work and family is extremely hard. Um, we as physicians know about that, and sometimes have taken a few hard lessons as well in the process. Um, but getting your family excited by the fact that you're doing something new, and clearly you're also excited by that. But at the same time, understanding that uh, there's a 10-year-old who needs to get to baseball practice, and needs a mom and needs a dad. Uh, and it's something that we continually wrestle with, is that work-life balance. So maybe if you have some sage advice for us.
Um, I'm just going to say that, we talk about finding a balance as if you're going to find a balance and then you're going to know exactly what to do to keep that balance. And I think the hard thing is that the balance is always changing, and just trying to participate in the best ways that you can, I think is good. I'm actually I had a commuting marriage for 26 years. And so that really added, to our back and forth, and I think sometimes people's opinions kind of got in the way. I mean, where people would be like, well, is that really a relationship? I'm like, well, it's working for us. And we invented a different word, sweetheart, for being together, until we got married. And then the first thing people said after me, literally the day after the wedding, was, well, what are you going to do when you have kids? I was like, well, we just got married. We might wait a bit. Okay. And then as soon as your kid is married, people wondered, well, where's he going to go to school? I said, he is only like a few weeks old. I think he's got some time. So I think keeping a little break on other people's judgment is helpful. Um, I learned, I think we learned from each other, and you are going to figure out what works in your relationship, what your spouse needs, what you need, what is stressful for you and for them, and what is something that they can kind of roll with, and so can you. And I like to learn from other people, and I would say it's mostly guys that I learned with, but partly because that's who I lived with and trained with, when I was training for the space station. But there's several guys that one actually is a doctor himself, and his wife is a pediatrician. A guy named Mike Barrett, fascinating guy. And Mike said, this was a couple years ago. He said, Katie, my kids come home. They send me they come home and they fax their homework to me, and I am the homework guy. And that is a way that I can, give my wife some space to get in the door when she can get in the door, and just, that I can be doing the homework and she doesn't have to be wrangling dinner and the homework and everything else. Another guy used to read stories to his son. And in Russia, we're on sort of I don't know, it's probably around 4 in the morning is actually when it's probably bedtime. 4 in the morning Russia time is probably a bedtime for them, or I've forgotten exactly, but I know I would get up in the middle of the night, and I had books that I would read. And if they're a thick book, um, tear it into pieces and travel with it. But I traveled around the world in my training for a couple of years before the space station, and just that reading, we read a book called a series called Peter and the Starcatchers, because it had stuff that was about smart boys and smart girls and sword fighting and fairy dust and flying and everything that kids would want. And it wasn't about actually hearing exactly the story. It was about the fact that it made a little place for our son and us to get together. And I would read stories when I was away, when he was in Houston with me. My husband would read stories. I think you have a lot more means now with video. Video was really new back then, but the speakerphone really changed our lives. But it gave us just a way to be together without having to say, "How was your day? How was your day?" And when your mom's on the space station for 159 days, that conversation gets old really fast. But I'll be candid and say that actually there's a movie you can watch on PBS called Space: The Longest Goodbye. And it's about a quarter about our family and our Sunday morning video conferences that we had, where there's days that your kid does not want to talk to you, And there's days when the breaks in communication are just heartbreaking, that you can't, I mean, in the fact that maybe you were gonna talk, but, something happens. I was gonna talk to his school, and a pickup truck, everybody lived, but a pickup truck ran into the telephone pole outside the school and took out all the power. I mean, but, there's times when you say you're gonna be home, and you don't get home. And I mean, we do end up coming home, but it's more about whether you were really able to talk and stay and be present in exactly the right time, and it doesn't always happen. So I would say that it's a hard thing. I think it's still a world where the women are more criticized, than the guys. No one really asks the guys if they miss their didn't you miss your family when you left the planet? And yet that's a disservice to them, because of course they do. And so I think being a little sensitive to each other's worlds and realizing everybody's doing it in one way or another, I think is really helpful. I'll just say that as a woman at NASA in the astronaut corps, people are looking to see how you manage your family. And, if I have training till 5 o'clock, there's no question that I have like three backups lined up, ready to go and get my kid. Or to, because I was basically a single parent, and so was my husband. And the guys weren't always lined up like that, but I could see when training starts to go long, and I'd be the one to say, "Hey, could we just talk about whether we're going to run long in this class, or are we going to reschedule the rest? Because if we're running long, we could see who can do that. Whether anybody has rescheduling, we probably all need like 5 minutes for phone calls." And I think you can help your crewmates in whatever way they need helped. Sometimes people did things like that for me.
Think you really touched on a few very important things. First of all, everyone's threshold for balance is different, and that threshold may change with time, dependent on the needs of your family and your needs and so on. And that give and take, that communication as to what the needs are, I think is so important. The electronic age has certainly helped a lot, and I think establishing a routine where you could do a bedtime story, or this is going to be the time, and oh gee, it's time for mom to call or dad to call, and so people then look forward to that. And yet the electronic age also allows some spontaneity. I can't tell you how excited I was the other evening when I got on my cell phone, uh, FaceTime from Corinne. Now, Corinne is my 3-year-old granddaughter, and it was totally spontaneous. Oh, I want to talk to granddad. And I said, that's wonderful. I'm here. So that's that spontaneity that you can get from the electronic age, but at the same time also establish a, a routine, firm foundation where there's a line of communication. I think you've hit on so many things that are important.
Thank you for tuning in, and I hope this conversation has given you a preview of what's ahead at SMA's annual Scientific Assembly in Houston this year in November. We've built an engaging program designed to inform you, inspire you, and connect you with colleagues. Visit sma.org or scan the QR code to explore the full agenda and register. We would be delighted to have you join us.